things I must protect.
Any anime game is hard to review. Its audience is already set, and there is assumed knowledge that can make it hard for anyone outside that group to decipher what's going on. Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Storm 3 falls into many of these traps, but it does so with such enthusiasm that it's hard not to be swept along by it. While Ultimate Storm 3 does offer a little lip service to its lineage at the start, it takes up very little time in dropping you deep into the fiction. Fine for the game's core fanbase, but for those with only a basic knowledge of the show like myself, the first few hours do become quite confusing. With the story tied to Naruto Shippuden fiction, Ultimate Storm 3 does face issues with its pacing. A prime example of this is just 4 fights into Ultimate Storm 3 when Naruto fights Ninja Master Ai. The fight is incredibly challenging, and despite having to win the round, the story sees Naruto lose. This dogged adherence to the story is no doubt what fans are looking for, but for newcomers it does prove a little disappointing. Stick with the story, however, and it becomes hard not to get involved. It may be standard anime fare with lengthy cutscenes, wooden acting,
Who are you?
and dubious plot points.
His personal bills will take some time, what a myth! But no worries, I will erase him in a jiff.
But its sheer exuberance manages to set an entertaining tone for the tale of friendship and betrayal. There is one proviso to this, as you do have to be prepared to invest a significant amount of time in the story to build this connection, but get past the first few hours and you could well find yourself hooked. At its heart, Ultimate Storm 3 is a one-on-one fighter with some brawler and exploration sections thrown in for good measure. Fights take place in large 3D arenas that place an emphasis on positional play and timing as you try to close the distance on opponents. While at range there is a selection of attacks to harry enemies, the skill lies in closing the gap and making use of the substitution system. Substitutions are basically dodges that, along with block, form the backbone of Ultimate Storm 3's defensive system. A simple directional tap and button press see your fighter disappear in a cloud of something, and then reappear ready to counter. Once in range, attacks are simple. Hammering on the B button unleashes nearly every available combo, with a few modifiers accessing throws and special attacks. It's a simple system keeping a focus on movement and controlling space, which is where the real depth lies. Personally, I was upset more wasn't made of the additional playstyles. The free roaming exploration wasn't the greatest, but when it was used well, it did prove a nice break from the fighting. More impressive were the brawling levels, which pitted me against multiple lesser foes. In these sections, the substitution system changed, allowing fighters to leap from one target to the next, offering a nice change of pace and a feeling of power. Visually, Ultimate Storm 3 doesn't have much to do to live up to its anime siblings. With a cel-shaded style that encapsulates the cartoon and good voice work from the Japanese cast, fans will no doubt love reliving their favourite moments. The English voice acting did run into a few issues, however, most notably that the voice work didn't match up with the original video edits. This regularly led to unnatural pauses where the Japanese dialogue once ran long. It isn't a huge issue, but with such long scenes, any element that dragged were instantly amplified. These issues combined with Naruto's English voice, which sounds a little bit like a cat with its tail caught in a blender, led to this being a situation where I definitely recommend immediately switching to the Japanese dialogue. I was going to make a joke about generic anime games, but Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Storm 3 is not quite standard. It does follow many of the key genre traits, but it feels a little bit more like an accompaniment to fans for an ongoing story, rather than as a way to broaden the audience. It's an interesting fighting game, but that won't be enough to win over anyone who isn't already invested in the fiction, or at least isn't determined to try to be. If you want an anime game, I would recommend One Piece Pirate Warriors, but if you want Naruto, Ultimate Storm 3 is everything you're looking for. Tune in again soon for more reviews, and remember to visit playdevil.com for all of your gaming news.